So greetings of peace once again, everyone. My name is Bassem Shaban, Director of the Peace Institute, and we'll welcome you to another episode on faith and society. And once again, we have our distinguished speakers, Pastor Stanley Murray, who represents the Christian perspective, and then Imam Muhammad Musri, who represents the Islamic perspective. And today we're going to talk about the relevance or the value and the weight that religion plays in modern society, really compared to the past, where as we have seen from generation to generation, different groups look at religion in a different way and value it on a different way. So today's discussion is going to be on, what is the relevance of religion and what shifts have our speakers seen from their own experience as a leader of their faith, and generally from whatever they've seen from society overall over the years. So once again, we start with our dear friend, Pastor Stanley Murray.
Good evening. Always a great pleasure to be here and to indulge with my brother, Imam Muhammad. I love him in spirit, so we're excited to continue the dialogue. As we look into this, I was actually just talking with some other clergy on the side last week about the relevance of the houses of worship. And it's almost to a point where it doesn't matter which religion you may be speaking of, there just seems to be a great falling away of the consistency of those who wish to get to know God. I still think that a lot is media driven, social media driven. We're in a generation that is really dependent, I repeat, dependent upon the information they gather from the internet. And so because it is so free in the liberty of whatever is being posted, it is easy to be swayed, even in your own religion, if you're not consistently practicing those things you need to be stable. And so my charge as I continue in the hedges and highways of the world is to remind those that it is a personal responsibility to make sure you are tied in to your religion, not just on a Sunday or Friday or Saturday or whatever day you may have your day of worship, but that you're tying into it every day of your life, and that you're embellishing it into your family, that not if, but when the challenge comes about whether they have a belief or they just being, sometimes people think about the religion, but they don't have a belief in their religion because they have not taken the time to practice and learn from the elders, if you will, of the things of life that they need. So I'm encouraging all of our young adults, all of our young teens, and even those of age to really go back to the grassroots of why you decided to become a person of faith, and what does it mean to you today?
Yeah, indeed, the place of faith and its role in society today may seem diminished, but that is to the detriment of the whole society, because all human beings, we have not just the body that needs food and nourishment and exercise and good health. We have a spirit that resides in this body that also needs nourishment, good health, and good company. And unfortunately, the material world, if you will, the commercial businesses, they spend, billions of dollars on ads targeting our, eyes and ears, telling us you need this gadget, you need that gadget, you need this and that what will make you happy. And we go out and buy these things and we don't find happiness. Yet religious groups don't have that kind of ad dollars, billions of dollars to spend on ads to say, come and you need spirituality to balance your life, to have, the connections that you need that gives you peace of mind and heart. So there's imbalance. uh, Religious organizations, don't have the strong incentive to spend such money to invite people. Over the centuries, people kind of knew the importance of faith in their lives, from birth to death. But today, we see that there is this this idea that everything can be replaced with something physical, material. And religion has lost its place in society today.
So, Pastor and Imam, why do you guys think there has been the shift from generation to generation, maybe away from religion and into, as you both mentioned, the societal elements of technology, of luxury, and all the conveniences that we are facing right now and consuming? So why do you think that shift took place?
Well, and I would say, just as a person of faith under the Christian banner, it is so easy to be distracted when, say, 20, 30 years ago, those distractions just weren't there. The internet was not as popular as it is now. You go back another 30, 40 years and televisions went off after the news at 11 o'clock. There was nothing to keep you up in the midnight hour. As my grandmother would call it, the witching hour, when there is so much that distracts people on the television. If we were to be transparent today, the role of pornography being accessible more than ever before, the changing of television shows from parents showing affection, but not necessarily showing an adult nature in the show that you see now at 7 o'clock in the afternoon. Children were brought up on old things like Sesame Street and Electric Company and things that really worked their minds into being educated and understanding about friendship, things like Little Rascals and things that kind of helped you understand growing up as a child that you go through things. But now there's just so much available that confuses, and without minimum parent supervision. Most households, maybe 50 years ago, both parents were pretty much in the home, which means both parents went to the house of God together, which means families went together as families. And they talked about it at the dinner table. That's still one of the most key components, I think, to family interaction, is what happens at the dinner table. Now you go into any restaurant and rarely do you see people physically looking at each other when they're talking. Everybody's kind of got their head dropped. Either there's a phone or a tablet or some form of electronics dictating their very day, their very hour. And so you have to understand the social skills are being lost. So now what you have is people being aggressive that normally wouldn't be aggressive. People being upset much more quicker now than normal than before. People seem more agitated. And I think a lot of it has to do with the interaction of being grateful to see someone and speak with someone and love upon someone. I think it's been taken for granted. I think that it's something that is becoming a lost art. And if we go back and look at what the Bible shows us, that every time we went into that realm, it didn't end up well. And so with the Bible telling us that there's a great falling away, and it is, even the house of God, and we have to take some responsibilities from our houses of worship as well. I mean, it's easy to say the people aren't responding. However, we have to ask ourselves, are we making those new adjustments that we need to draw their attention to the houses of God, to know that their faith is important in their lives? And I think we play a major part in that.
I think there are multiple factors. This is worth research really for all faith communities to do. But what comes to my mind is multiple factors at the same time creating sort of a perfect storm that distracts people and take them away from considering faith in their lives. Um, for example, what you just mentioned, Pastor, the introduction of television, then the introduction of the internet and social media, and handheld devices that occupy our day and night now. We see levels of addiction much higher than ever, and many people don't sleep until they crash and the phone falls off their hand, uh, because the algorithms of these technology companies that they create to keep you watching one thing after another and so on. Another factor is the mistakes that faith communities have done and houses of worship. They used to be major player in community life. They went out into the community, and the church life was not, or the mosque life was not that people come to it, but rather, it is out there in the community, checking on neighbors, seeing what people need, on and on and on. And now people feel like that's not the role. The church is just on the weekend. And if I need something, I go to the government to get help. I go to, other organizations to get the help. And the church has, and the faith communities have uh, defined themselves in a narrower function in society that slowly becomes irrelevant. Another factor with uh, millennials today is uh, they are bombarded by the news of, bad apples. In every organization, in every faith community, there are bad apples. And when the news media focuses on a faith leader who has, gone bad, they try to paint the entire religion with that. And people, hear about it as if the whole religion has gone bad. So it is distracting, and it tells people, don't believe anymore in your faith leaders, in your church organizations. And that is uh, has played a significant role in uh, pushing people away from religion. Many people say religious leaders are corrupt, or religious leaders are greedy, they just want money. So that perception is uh, built up by bad reports that the media chooses to focus on. There are so many factors that we have as faith leaders, as houses of worship, have to ask ourselves, what is our role in somebody's life? How are we making their lives better? The programming, as you mentioned, that we offer, as well as the message that we offer, is it relevant? Is it solving problems? Uh, we can't just lecture to people. We have to be by their side and uh, feel their pain and participate in their happy events. And that way they feel we're part of the family, we're part of their lives. Many people today, they say, I have faith in God, but I don't practice because I don't see the need for it. I don't miss going to church. I don't miss, being with those people. So that's a question that we have to address.
So what kind of, as we close, what kind of recommendations would you guys give maybe other faith leaders, and maybe based on something you did in your communities, to bring people back or to get more engaged with the people back to their faith? And what would you say to, let's say, parents who grew up very faithful in their families and they want to pass that on to their children? What kind of concrete steps can they take to bring back the influence of faith with their children?
I would say simply, most communities are oversaturated with houses of worship. Um, they are multiple places of locations on the same street who never communicate with each other at all. Um, there are many different places that people can go into, almost like a golden corral, if you will, of houses of worship. Everything you want is out there. However, you don't know what you have a taste for. So you dibble and dabble here and there, and never really get full of what God would have of you to do. And I'm a firm believer that if you're not relevant as a house of worship, you're irrelevant. And so you have to make sure that you are being outward into your community. One thing that I think the pandemic did is it allowed us to get out of the walls because we had to. Periodically, our house of worship, we'll just go on a corner, street corner, and we'll just hold up signs saying we're praying. We'll bring our youth, we'll bring our young adults, and we'll just stand on the corner of major intersections and just say we're praying. And somebody say, well, what relevance does that bring? Well, you don't know what person was on their way home. And when they got there, they saw that crossing of the intersection, someone praying for them. So it's very, very important to know that you play a key part in people's lives, even if you don't think that they notice. Somebody notices. So it's very important to do that. As far as your children, because you may have come out of an era where your life is important to your faith, then you've channeled it over to your children. Whatever house of worship that you're in, engage them in some form of duties at the house of worship, whatever it may be. Whether it's a youth group doing something, or arts and crafts, or whatever they're doing there at the house of worship, begin to build them up so that they will begin to take that. The Bible tells us that you train up a child in the way that it should go, that not if but when they depart, when they grow old, they won't depart from it. So that means that there's still a foundation there, even though they might change the color of the house, they might get a new roof done. The foundation will always be the same, and they'll have something to come back to.
Yeah, I think for the parents and for individuals, I do want to recommend that they revisit the fact that we are not just body and have physical needs, but we have a spirit, that we have spiritual needs. And if we're searching for happiness, fulfillment, and contentment, we have to really feed our spirit healthy ideas, healthy views, especially during a pandemic, during crisis, climate change, disasters, hurricanes. We hear bad news all the time. And to counter all of this and to keep ourselves grounded and peaceful, we need to turn to God, and we need to have a balance in our life between the physical and spiritual. We need to educate our children about this fact, because we see so many examples of people who have the wealth, who have everything material, but they're not happy. Many commit suicide because when it comes to their spirit, it's dead. The other part, I say, advice to faith leaders, okay, let's reinvigorate the houses of worship. And as the pastor said, go out of the walls to the community and knock on doors, get to know the people, see what they need. There are a lot of people who are suffering in silence. There are people who, don't know what to do. some are ashamed of what happened to them. And we need to show them the love of God and embrace them and be with them in their ups and downs and let them know we care. Because that's at the end of the day what Jesus and Muhammad have taught, is that we love and we care for our neighbors. And when we, turn the house of worship from a lecture hall to, you know, a lab where we go out and bring people and work with them to solve their problems, I think people will be more engaged and feel that this place, this pastor, this imam, made a difference in my life. I want to be connected to them. And that's the role that we have, let fall short so far. And we can reinvigorate religion to meet people where they are. Now, there are a lot of people online, so we can reach to them where they are online and offer them the opportunity, if they have any need, to call on us. And so we can try to help them any way we can.
Thank you both. So unfortunately, this is the time we have left for this program. It was very insightful. And in the near future, we will be covering specific social issues in the next few episodes. So for our audience, we look forward to having you engaging in those types of elements that are affecting all of society, not only domestically and nationally, but also internationally. And we wanted to hear from the faith leaders what their perspective about these social issues are, and then how to solve them as well. So thank you both once again.
You're welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.